In this edition of the Bucs Daily MinuteCast, should your Tampa Bay Buccaneers call Rob Gronkowski? Should they phone a friend and say, Gronk, we need your help? We'll talk about that in the show. And the Bucs waive Kaylon Geiger, and in a very kind of odd move, based on necessity, Vita Vea dropping into coverage because of the injury to Akeem Hicks. We'll talk about all of that and more next on this edition of the Bucs Daily MinuteCast. Keep it right here.
MinuteCast Media.
10,000!
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers MinuteCast starts right now.
Bucs on 3, 1, 2, 3, Bucs!
This is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers MinuteCast. Well, hello and welcome into this Wednesday edition of the Bucs Daily MinuteCast. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. As always, this podcast is free and available on all the major platforms. You can find this podcast on the Bucs Report. Check them out online, bucsreport.com. You can find this podcast on YouTube. Just search for the Bucs Report. And of course, you can find this audio podcast wherever you find your audio podcasts. Just look for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers MinuteCast. My name is Dan Holman. You can find me on Twitter. It's at Dan. Today's episode is brought to you by Manscaped. Get 20% off plus free worldwide shipping with promo code MinuteCast. That is free worldwide shipping plus 20% off with promo code MinuteCast. Ends October 8th. So in this edition, we are talking about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was an article in the Tampa Bay Times. And are they talking about here, shucks, kind of call a friend and call out to Rob Gronkowski and say, hey, man, we need you back on this team. This team is struggling offensively. Could you come and help us out? This article in the Tampa Bay Times says, make the call, bend the knee, open the vault, do whatever it takes. But for goodness sake, find a way to get these crazy kids together again. Promise midweek vacations. Tease more endorsements. Make clear that alone he can rescue the Bucs. Just a way to get Gronk back in Tom Brady's huddle. You can see it, right? There's nothing wrong with Tampa Bay's offense that a legend of a tight end and cure. Need a reliable target on third down. Sign Gronk. Need to stretch the field. Sign Gronk. Need the final block to open up the running game. Sign Gronk. Need to see a freaking smile on Tom Brady's face. Sign Gronk. Yes, I'm aware this may not be as easy as it sounds. Gronkowski has retired from the NFL for the second time and from all appearances is living his best life. He's throwing parties. He's doing USAA and Subway commercials. He's ripping it up on basketball courts. So no, the Bucs cannot just snap their fingers and get Gronkowski back in the sideline at age 33. But if they've already inquired 99 times, they pick up the phone again. Gronkowski about the health, and he absolutely made the right decision to walk away. No Super Bowl is worth risking any player's long-term lifestyle. And I agree with that. He did face a huge injury against the Rams last season where he had like a broken rib and a rib and a collapsed lung. He said that was the most pain he had been in the most severe injury that he had faced to that point. So I get it. But I also know that there is a history between Gronkowski and Tom Brady that supersedes all of that. And I think that, Tom Brady should air it out and make a Hail Mary pass by phoning a friend and say, hey, buddy, can you help us out here one more time? But there are enough people around Gronk who seem to think that he has some ambivalence about retirement. His girlfriend, Camille, told Sports Illustrated in July that she not think this retirement was going to last. His agent has said numerous times that he does not think Gronkowski is done playing football, but he told Pro Football Talk on Monday that there have been no Bucs. Also, the chance malaise will be cured once Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Julio Jones are finally running routes at the same time. And color me skeptical. I'm not so sure that that's going to be the case here. It seems to be a Bucs offense that has struggled the entire season. And you got to be thinking to a certain extent, Tom Brady's like, I kind of ruffled my wife's feathers, made her upset. I made these promises. I retired. I unretired. I don't know what I'm doing. And why in the hell did I come back for this offense that isn't working? You got Mike Evans who, stood up for me, and good on Mike. You know, would he have helped the Bucs beat the Packers? Of course he would have. It was Scotty Miller and Perriman getting targeted out there, and they just were not enough offensive horsepower to get that Bucs team over the top. Would a Gronkowski out there made all the difference in the world? Hell yes, Gronk would have made the difference. But that's not a given. Jones has struggled to stay on the field this past couple of seasons, and his knee injury might be more significant than initially reported. So, all these big moves in the offseason, the Bucs went outside Gage. They signed Jones. They signed all of these players. And guess what happened to start it off? The whole domino that started this whole thing happening was what? Was Ryan Jensen getting injured. And, everything, I think to a certain extent, Tom Brady's like, if I got my center out there kind of humming along and helping me out, then I think that everything is going to be all right. But without Gronk and without Jensen, the two big players that have been integral to this team for years, with them minus the equation, that kind of changes the complexion of everything. So I know that they say that, maybe they've reached out to Gronkowski on numerous occasions. Guess what? Do that one more time. I think that, having Gronk on this team, for whatever reason, Gronk and Brady have such great chemistry together that having those two guys out on the field at the same time is magic. So I say do it. Whatever you got to do. Promise. Jason Light, get on the phone and call Gronk and do the right thing. So this isn't a momentary panic. This is not overacting. Compliment receivers. The Bucs still have at tight end. At this stage of his career, Brady has no desire to stand in the pocket and wait for downfield pass plays to develop on every drive. He gets rid of the ball in a hurry, and his options are limited with this roster. And isn't that apparent where he got sacked, I believe, multiple times in the last game? And he's the guy that feeds Brady, that is, on making quick passes. They always talk about his release from his earliest days to current day, and that's where he thrives, is having wide receivers that have the football IQ to figure out how to get open, how to run the route the right way. God saving, God Scotty, I'm on his fan club, but he cannot get open for the life of him, whether it be if it was a mispass play or whatever. Sometimes I think that Scotty Miller shoots himself in the foot. Leonard Fournette can catch the ball out of the backfield, but that's not his strong point. Cameron Brate and Kyle Rudolph have had some success in this league, but they're not Gronkowski class. Brady wants receivers he can trust. He wants to know they will run a route exactly the way he expects, and they will catch if he gets it anywhere near them. Though the first 3 weeks of the season, there's been a problem. The Bucs are struggling on third down, and they're struggling in the red zone. Do you think Gronkowski could make a difference? And of course I do. We've seen it. It's not conjecture. It's not theory. It's not hypothetical. It's reality. And if this Bucs team really wants to win, I think that what they got to do is they got to reach out to Gronk, because even though Evans and Godwin and all these players are back, is that enough to make this Bucs team competitive in the NFC South? But let's widen the lens a little bit. Is it enough to make them competitive to make a Super Bowl run? I really don't think present day, and I know that this is a Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, but search your heart of hearts. Is this lineup as is good enough to win a Super Bowl? Ask yourself that question. I have a lot of questions about that. Of the 100 passes he's caught in Tampa Bay uniform, 63% have gone for first downs or touchdowns, and that's not including the plays when he's attached multiple defenders and left Evans or Godwin or someone else in single coverage. So do whatever it takes to meet Gronkowski's demands. If he wants snaps per game, that's fine. If he wants to limit practice to walkthroughs, that's fine. And if he waits until later in the season, that's fine too. And, I don't want to say that the sky is falling because they lost the first game of the season. And I know that, with Brady on this team, you think everything's on a lock, that they're going to win every game out there. But that's not reality, is it? So, all right. So after the break, we're going to continue to talk about the Bucs. We're going to talk about some odd play of Vita Vea, and then talk about Evans returning and what that meant for Geiger. We'll talk about that. But first, All right, welcome back into this edition of the Bucs Daily MinuteCast. Once again, to get 20% off plus use promo code MINUTE at manscaped.com. So Sunday's game did see some odd action. Bucs get creative versus Packers, including big Vita Vea dropping into coverage. This is a story in The Athletic. They were saying with Akeem Hicks sidelined with a foot injury, the Bucs were without a key defense lineman Sunday, and they used a ton of different looks on the defensive front early, trying to find the best combinations in base and nickel packages. On the opening drive alone, the Bucs had 6 different combinations in 10 plays with Vita Vea, Rakeem Nunez Roches, and Will Golston as the primary 3, but rookie Logan Hall Deadrin Senate are also getting cameos on the Packers. But the drives were long enough that got tired. Green Bay's second touchdown came play back up with O'Connor logging his. It was a game, that was on typical for this Here's the team that saw Tom Brady get that delay of game penalty out there. It's just a non-typical game. There was injury out there. There was Mike Evans sidelined with being suspended out there. So hopefully that when the Bucs play the Chiefs on Sunday, they get a bit of a different play. But as the Bucs defense clamped down on the Packers after their third drive, found the right combination, generally splitting the personnel between the base defense and the nickel. They lined up much more often in their nickel package, which for most of the second half had Vea and Hall up front, while base front had and Senate exclusively on the perhaps coolest wrinkle of the defense front was into the a massive linebacker. The first time they did it was perhaps the biggest spark in the defense's turnaround. The Packers led 14-3 and had driven the Bucs 5-yard line on their third drive. Vea, listed as 6 and 347 pounds, was able to get a running start on Pop Jones forcing a fumble. Bucs recovered in the end zone. Green Bay would not score again and didn't even advance past the Bucs 42. So desperate times do call for desperate measures, and that is what the Bucs did. Are they going to have to continue to do these desperation moves going forward? Hey, if it works, why not continue with it? I don't think it's ideal to have a guy of Vita Vea's size and stature doing that, but it got production, and they ended up doing what they had to do. And again, if you can get success that way, that is the biggest thing. So this has been your edition of the Bucs Daily MinuteCast, a bit of an earlier one today. I have things to do. I actually have a 9-to-5 job that I have to go to, but it's actually not 9 to 5 today. But this has been this edition of the Locked On, or excuse me, I've just got done recording a podcast before this. This has been this edition of the Bucs Daily MinuteCast.